Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Infinity Stones and Dragon Bones, a podcast about the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I am your host, Derek McDuff, and joining me today is the strongest Avenger, the man himself,
Strongest Avenger.
James Royce Edwards, aka San Diego Thor. How is it going, man?
It's going good, man, and I freaking love the title of this podcast. I just like it's Derek's podcast. I did not know the title of it, but kudos to you.
Thank you. That's one of the smarter things I think I've done. Is the title of this podcast. But yeah, man, thank you so much for coming on. I'm really excited to have you here. So yeah, as I mentioned, you're a cosplayer, you're an actor, you do all kinds of really cool stuff. What did you, before we get into it, start chopping up the movie and everything, what did you want to let the people know about yourself?
Oh, geez. Yeah, I'm just San Diego born and raised. I was primarily like a theater actor my entire adult life until just right before COVID when I had to take a muggle job, and it turned out to be really great. But just kind of a big change. And then I got into cosplay kind of from when Comic-Con was doing special edition. I met this group called the Sci-Fi Coalition, and some friends that are now really good friends. They just kind of said, "Hey, yeah, we do this, and we do this charity work, and we also do cosplay, and talk nerd stuff." And it just sounded like a great fit. My wife and I were kind of looking for like a charity to give back to, and I just sounded like an awesome, you know, fit for us. So been doing that as much as I can, at the cons, and then lots of charity events. But yeah, I live in San Diego. I have a kiddo who's just about turned 17, and he's a big nerd too. And yeah, we like to do all this stuff together. It's pretty rad.
I always love it when I see like a nerd that doesn't really fit in. Like you're like Henry Cavill, who by the way might come up in
Dude,
this
that's the
podcast.
nicest thing anyone has ever said to me.
No, but really, because you're just like this huge buff guy, but you're also just like a complete nerd, but also like a great. You're a total sweetheart, by the way. Like when I first
Oh,
met you,
thanks, man.
introduced our mutual friend of ours, Thomas, introduced us back at WonderCon. He's like, "Hey, this is
Hmm.
my buddy James," and you had the whole Thor thing on, and man, you like looked the part. Like it's
I
always
did.
great, like seeing you. And like it was, I remember telling everybody about that WonderCon. I was like, yeah, man, I was having a great time having drinks, and I look over and I see Thor and Aquaman just drinking next to it. It's just like
That's
perfect,
right. Adam was there.
Oh yeah, that was a great time. But
Priceless moments.
you
Yeah,
you do
man.
some other you do some other great cosplays. Obviously, I saw you did. I think it was on the first night of Comic Con or preview night where you did where the Princess Bride. You and your wife were.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
that was a first time thing we did just for kind of a warm up. We literally had just got back from the Deadpool and Wolverine premiere the night before, and had no idea what we were going to do because we were going to this Legends of Fantasy party at the Park nightclub for like Ready Party One, and it was fun. Princess Bride is my favorite movie of all time, so finally got wifey and I to do Buttercup and Wesley. Mine was the sleeveless version, of course. All my cosplays, I just lose the sleeves.
you gotta show the guns,
Like
man.
what? I don't. It's just become a gimmick now. So like I do Luke Skylifter instead of Walker,
That's
and
incredible.
he just doesn't have sleeves or whatever. We did this like formal. We went to the Hellfire Gala last year for Comic
Mm.
Con, and we did like a formal. Uh, she did Emma Frost in this beautiful like gown, but I did, of course, Wolverine in a suit, yellow and black, like a black tuxedo, yellow shirt and bow tie, but no sleeves. So I just removed this. It's just kind of a little dumb gimmick,
That
but
that's really
it's
cool.
now my
Yeah.
thing. I own it.
That's perfect. And though that kind of leads me into something you don't want to talk about because you as you mentioned you were at the premiere and you went
Yeah,
in
man.
cosplay as Wolverine, and I saw you got like all the signatures on the helmet and everything. What was that experience
Dude,
like being there at the premiere?
man. It was like the whole thing is kind of surreal and just a trip because um, we go to premieres sometimes and we have, a friend who works with Disney and sometimes sends us invitations. And wifey was like, "Oh, when is Deadpool and Wolverine going to happen? I want that invitation." And I'm like, "Babe, there's no way. We're not getting. That's going to be the hottest ticket. Period. There's no way we're going to get invited to that. Think of all the cast and crew that's going to want to be a part of it." And then I went to the X-Men 97 premiere as Wolverine, and my
Mm.
son went with me as Logan, and we were double Wolverines. We got interviewed by D23, and
Nice.
my friend over at Disney like saw it, and he's like, "That's great." And out of nowhere, we kind of got an invitation saying, "Hey, if you submit some photos of what you would do, you can maybe, you know, come to the premiere." And it was my wife's birthday weekend. We already had plans, going to a wedding, everything. But I was just kind of joking, like, "Hey, babe, we can always just ditch our entire plans and go to New York for your birthday if you want to like put together a look for the red carpet." And you know, uh, I was kind of joking, not joking, of course, like
Yeah,
secretly deep down
yeah,
inside. And the wife was
yeah,
like,
yeah.
"Oh my gosh, no, we already have this." And then like an hour later, she's like, "But I could put together this." I'm like, "Yes." She's gonna be so in. And it was just such a blessing. Like I submitted photos and we got the approval and the invitation, and then we're like, okay, where are we gonna stay? We got to book a hotel and travel. And is it worth going into debt to do this? And anyway, we did, and it was worth it. It was so cool, man. Like, um, hard to explain. Like, what do you want me to talk about as far as like what happened, or just like tell you that it was freaking awesome to meet everybody. And wifey just wanted selfies with Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman, and I just wanted my cowl signed by everybody in the cast and the director. And we did, and it was so cool. And the movie was freaking awesome. And to see it with so many fans and the people who created it, like, was the coolest dang experience you could imagine. I had to go back recently to see the movie again because we missed so many lines because people were like yelling and cheering and laughing so hard. Uh, it was just, it was so cool, so cool.
That sounds like an absolutely incredible experience. That's awesome. So yeah, then what did I guess because you've now seen it in two different contexts. You've seen it at that premiere, and you've
Yeah.
seen it, just in the real world, I guess. What were your thoughts on the movie, kind of just in general, and also in either of those scenarios?
Whew. It's the whole premiere was like a dream. There's nothing, and it was the same kind of with the X-Men 97 premiere. To
Hmm.
see that with a group of like fans that are just so passionate about it and shamelessly just like love it. The energy that comes from that, and the camaraderie, and just every single little joke and cameo, and uh, we were just busting up, and like just it's hard to explain how electric it
Hmm.
was seeing it the first time. Um, and I loved it, and I was just dying, yelling, at so many different parts. And then when we saw it again, just like on Sunday, aside from the wonderful woman next to me, we're like, "What the heck, people? Do you not get how freaking important
Yeah.
this is?" Like,
Yeah.
and I just want to like yell out. And I'm like, "That's
Yeah.
funny because of this and this." And like, it was still awesome. Loved the movie overall and kind of the fan service it gave, and ultimately the message. I laughed to death, but I'm a sucker, and I just I teared up a couple times at different points. Um, you
Right.
know,
Right. Yeah.
you
Yeah.
got me, and
Absolutely.
and Ryan and Morena got me, and like just kind of the overall message of like this is about those who have been forgotten.
Hmm.
It hit home. It hit home more the second time when I was just like looking at the whole message of it because I wasn't like waiting for what's the next thing that's gonna happen cameo. So I'm glad I saw it again for sure.
That's cool. I need to go back
How
and
about
rewatch
you?
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually saw it, because I was like we mentioned, we were both at Comic Con. We ran into each other for a sec, got to say hi. That was cool. But it was cool because my buddy Damien, who lives on the East Coast, had flown out for Comic Con. I got him to be the videographer for my panel, so that was really
Oh,
cool. And
nice.
this is a guy
Congrats
I've
on that, by the
talked.
way.
Thank you, thank you. I had a blast. But I got to meet him in the flesh for the first time after, us having video calls like
Oh, no
this
way.
for
Okay.
like 3 or 4 years. So it was,
Oh, dude.
and we realized it lined up right. We're like, okay, like Deadpool and Wolverine is coming out right then too. So let's see it together. So I was staying in Oceanside with my parents, just so they could save some money on a hotel. So I drove
Yeah.
back, went to like the drove down to like the AMC down there, met up with him at the theater, and it was really cool to watch it with him, and the crowd was awesome. They were cheering at all the
Good, good,
cameos and
good.
stuff like that, and they were digging it. And that was a really cool like epilogue slash postscript, whatever you want to call it, to the whole
Yeah.
Comic Con experience. So then let me back up just a tad then, because
Yeah,
speaking
man.
of Comic Con, um, I'm not. I had a blast at Comic Con. It was cool because that first day was my panel, and the rest of it was I'm just like, all right,
Hmm.
having a good time.
Got
Um,
that over with. It was awesome. But yeah, just have fun.
Exactly. And I had never done the Hall H thing before. I always had heard like it's
Oh,
crazy crowded and stuff like that.
yeah,
And
yeah.
it's not really, and I'm like, you know what? I looked at the schedule and was like, there's a bunch of stuff I really like. Obviously the Marvel one people are freaking out about, but
Oh,
like
heck yeah.
there's the Star Trek panel, there's the one with like the directors under it. There was like a bunch of really good stuff all in a row. I think that I was really hyped for. And then so I was like, all right, I'm gonna see if I get in. Because I got there around noon. Kind of it was I it didn't take me too long to get in. It was hard to find a seat once I was in there, but I got
Wow.
there, and I had a great day at Hall H. Even though I was like jammed between people and a screen kid was kicking at me next to me
Uh-huh.
and stuff like that, it was still an amazing experience. And obviously the moment right when Marvel does their panel, they started with the Deadpool
No.
Wolverine appropriately enough, which is really cool.
Wait, you were
And
there for that day at Hall
I
H.
was there for that way. That was my
Oh,
Hall
the
H day.
day.
Yeah,
That day. Okay. Wow.
yeah, yeah. So were
And you
you
got
were
there at
you
like
at Hall
noon the
H?
same day?
I know. I don't know how it worked out, but I
What the?
got in,
It was
right?
meant to be. Okay, you were like
Yeah,
touched by the Marvel gods. Marvel Jesus
exactly.
had blessed
They were
you.
like, and I was like, you know what? All right. I was just like, I don't, this was never my plan, but let's see if it works out. I just walked in. So I think that's maybe the plan for me going forward if I ever try it again, is not to try and get there super early and
Wow.
stuff like that, is to see if I can maybe get in relatively early, but not like crack of
Hmm.
dawn. But
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, got to be there, see Harrison Ford come out, which was so cool because at first I was like, well, Harrison
Dude.
Ford's not going to do Comic Con. But he comes out and he's doing his like, oh yeah, Anthony Mackie, I've been having to deal with his grumpy old
Oh,
self. That
nice
was great.
impression.
Thank you. And then obviously, they do the trick again where they're like, oh, the cast isn't here for Fantastic Four, the shoot,
Hmm.
and they're like, psych, here they are. And they all come out, and so then
Yeah.
the Thunderbolts panel, and so all these great, cool things are
Hmm.
happening. And then they're like, well, there's one more thing we got, and it's like the big announcement. And for anybody, I'm sure everybody listening knows this now, but they're like, all right, well, they announced they're like, you start to see the sizzle reel of the Russo brothers movies, and like, okay, we kind of knew this
Uh,
already. I'd heard chatter online, Russo brothers are coming back. So they come out and they're like, well, and then here's the next movie. We're gonna do Secret Wars. Before that, we're gonna do Doomsday. I'm like, okay, so it's gonna be Doctor Doom. Like, Kang is out, Doom is in, and they're
holy,
like, who
holy
who's
crap.
it gonna be? And they're like, it's got to be one of the greatest actors of all time, or the greatest actor of all time. And then out comes
Oof.
all these Dooms, just like a bunch of them, like this parade of like
Yeah,
people,
yeah.
and then through the crowd comes one, rips it off in a way that only RDJ can, and there he
Right?
is, Robert Downey Jr. throws on the Tony Stark's shades and goes, "New mask, same task." My brain doesn't even process it. My brain isn't even like it's
Right?
like what is happening? It's like no, that's not that's Oppenheimer. What is going
Yeah.
on? And so then I finally
Mm.
were like, okay. And that was so cool because I'm usually not a guy who likes. I'm like, you know
Dude.
what?
Yeah.
Don't tell me ahead of time. I want to see it in the movie. Like I'm
Hmm.
not here for the announcements. I would rather like this show is
Same.
usually like, let's review the movies, not get hyped for what's coming next. But that
Yeah.
was a special moment. That was like it was like
Dude.
seeing
Oh,
that
yeah.
happen, like being in the room while and everybody was freaking out. I was losing my mind. So and it's one of those things. It's like I might have been a little cynical about it, but it was just I'm still hyped on it. I'm still like the endorphins
Yeah,
of being in
man.
that room. So I don't know. What did you think about the
Oh,
Robert Downey Jr. coming back as Doom?
wow, man. Okay, so I did not get that same blessed experience that you did, uh, to commune with all those amazing people. But yeah, that energy just like kept continuing. I found out um, later on that night because like people, I was staying at the Hyatt just for a few nights, and some friends had been to Hall H and they were showing somebody a video and, at some of the little like tables at the lounge downstairs. And I'm like, okay, what's going on? Everybody's into this. And it's just like, come and look at this now. And I'm like, okay. And, we looked at the Red Guardian kind of stuff and I was laughing, but then he's
Mhm.
like, no, this. And it's the whole RDJ like reveal moment. And I kind of felt like maybe just like a little tad smidge of what you felt. I'm like,
Mhm.
I'm at Comic Con and he was here and this is when that was revealed. I don't know. Just like, I don't know. That's
Yeah.
stupid to say now, but I get what
No,
you're
not at all.
saying. And so yeah, and then, after all the excitement, there was kind of discussion about what do you think? And um, people were like, how can you do that? It's just ruined everything. And other people were like, nah. And I had to remind people early on, I'm like, well, like other actors have done it, just
Right.
how many human torches have we had like
Mhm.
that have turned into Killmonger and Captain America, and then
Yeah.
and they didn't even remember that like Thanos and
Yeah.
Cable were the same guy,
Mhm.
and I I was just thinking, look, there's no way RDJ does not need the money at this point in his
Yeah.
life. And he went out like such an epic boss. And part of me, just my heart sinking, like, don't mess this up. Don't mess, like that
Yeah.
means
Yeah.
nothing now in the MCU. Nothing, no scene means anything because this is happening. Part of me, but also like I just trust that he's not going to take that role
Mhm.
without like a really, really, really good plan um,
Yeah.
in place. And I think as long as they don't mess with an origin story, they've done that, enough times with Doom. Um, uh, I think it's gonna be awesome. I love him.
Yeah.
I don't know if he can do wrong really at this point in his life or
Yeah.
career.
Yeah.
So I'm hyped. How about you?
Yeah, I so my feeling is that, I there was a lot of chatter, I think, that Robert Downey
Hmm.
Jr. was gonna come back, and I was thinking it was gonna be as Iron Man, and I was like, "Dude, we
Yeah,
had, like, the perfect ending, like, this character, like, it's Endgame was
perfect,
great,
perfect,
perfect ending, we don't
perfection.
need to see him again." But I was like, "Okay, this is actually really interesting, having him come back in a different capacity," and we're not talking about Deadpool yet, so I won't spoil it, but there's a similar thing that happens in Deadpool where an actor comes
I
back
was just gonna
in a
make a
different
joke, so I didn't know we
capacity.
weren't
Yeah,
talking about it.
yeah.
Okay,
Well, save that for the spoilers. But and
okay,
I really, really dug that in Deadpool. So I was like, you know what? It worked
yeah.
in Deadpool. Then actor who also at Endgame had a really perfect send off came back in a different capacity, very different
Hmm.
role, different vibe. So if you do that, and I'm sure Marvel will find a clever way. Like I'm not sure if he's going to be a Stark variant or he's going to be, just like a thing where it's just like, okay, this is the same actor, different role, and people are going to look
Oh, the
whatever it ends up being.
multiverse. Ugh.
Right? It could be anything, right?
No,
And
I
so
don't
I'm
know.
just like, so I'm like, whatever it ends up being, I'm sure they're going to do a good job with it, and I'm just glad that they're not like shoehorning Tony Stark back in. They're actually doing something interesting and different with that.
Yeah, yeah. And I think there already exists somewhere. I like a version of some timeline, in the comics where Doom and Tony Stark have a relationship, and actually Doom becomes kind of Tony Stark, I
Mm,
think.
yeah,
So I think there's something there already, like where he takes all
yeah,
Tony's tech to do like good things. But
yeah,
I don't know. I,
yeah. Well,
yeah,
they'll make it work.
who
So
knows? We
I'm
don't know.
excited. Yeah, and
How much time
who
do we have to wait?
right?
A bit, right?
I feel like he might show up in Fantastic Four. I think that might be the first glimpse we get of him.
Better.
Uh, so yeah. But yeah, we'll see what happens. So excited for that. But yeah, I guess
But the memes are worth it alone.
the memes
I
are
just love
so
it.
good. I
My
hate you three
last one I
thousand.
said, I hate you. I was just gonna say that I hate you 3000. It's just so good. So good.
Yeah, yeah.
Well
That's
then
the MCU always is great memes.
but what's gonna happen, yes, it's now Deadpool goes to Endgame,
Mhm.
takes the Infinity Gauntlet, snaps, and survives because he regenerates, right? No,
Oh,
I don't know.
right.
Right? I'm like, wait, hey, why didn't Wolverine or Deadpool just like, of
Right.
course,
Yeah.
didn't exist
Yeah.
in that universe at the moment.
Not yet. Right. Right. But
No,
now
it
they
was a perfect
do.
ending. So anyway,
Yeah.
they
Perfect.
do,
Perfect ending. But now, yeah, now they do, and so we're getting the first, Deadpool slash X-Men movie in the MCU,
dude.
which is interesting, because it's a sequel to two movies that weren't in the MCU, but it's bringing all
Hmm?
this stuff, some of it in the MCU, some of it not. And so
And they
yeah, I'll
let you
just
know it.
say they do. Let's go full spoilers on this. Full spoilers on
Okay, we
Deadpool
can.
and
Okay, good.
Wolverine. So if you're one
All
of the
right.
3 people out there who has not yet seen this movie, pause the podcast, go watch the movie, go to
Exactly.
your AMC, Regal, what have you, Cinemark, watch it, or local independent theater. Always support independent theaters. Come back and
You're
then
giving
hit
out those
play.
plugs like yes, absolutely do
Uh,
that. What are you waiting for?
Yep, yep. So you said that this movie spoke to you with its themes of kind of being forgotten and stuff like that. And you
Mhm.
said I think you said you also enjoyed the cameos.
Oh my
What are
gosh, yeah.
your big other than that? What are your big overall thoughts on Deadpool and Wolverine?
Um, I don't want to sound cliche, but I thought it was brilliant. Like it was so good. It called out what Marvel hasn't been doing well recently,
Mhm.
and in my opinion, that people haven't liked. And really got back to what the fans want and love. And you know, the script. I mean, if you go back and you really take it apart, you're like, okay, that's a MacGuffin, and this, like, what the heck about that? How does that work?
Ugh.
It doesn't really matter
Mhm.
because you're going to see this movie to see these two real life friends play these roles they were born to play. Um, and that's priceless with a script and a team where everything just kind of comes together, and like I said, it's brilliant. So um, I could have watched it for a few more hours. I could have had more. I
Yeah.
hope there's like an extended version that's like 4 hours long. Um,
Nice. Nice.
yeah, no real critiques. I thought like their relationship. Um, I don't know, whatever the bond I think they have in real life, like it came across in their work, even though they're just like fighting each other and beating the crap out
Ugh.
of each other, which is so amazing. Like those were the fight scenes that you always wanted to see in
Mhm.
Wolverine. Like he
Yeah. Yeah.
never got to be this fierce beast. And oh hell, man, in that bus scene, or oh my gosh, the Honda Odyssey scene, or even the first scene, like just so gratifying to see like how they just become ferocious in their own particular fighting styles. It was so good, man. Like they did so much so well.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree with a lot of the stuff you're saying. Uh, I had a lot of fun with this movie. I think I liked it. I will just say this is a
I
good
didn't
movie.
know.
I
It's
liked it.
okay.
But I'm gonna do the old compliment sandwich. Where uh,
Yes, do it.
uh, I think that this was a
You did the
very,
cream.
it was a very very funny. Like this movie is
Hmm.
absolutely hysterical. Like maybe even funnier than the last couple Deadpool movies, which by the way are some
Hmm.
of the funniest superhero movies ever. I
Totally.
was like laughing my ass off the whole time, just having a real ball. And like you said, the characters in it, they feel so well defined. It's a perfect pairing of like the kind of like goofy guy, the zany guy, and the straight man. Like Hugh Jackman is so good, like in relation to
So
him. Like, and you say
with
they're
that
the real
gravitas,
life
yeah.
friends. So that they have that real chemistry. I really dug all of like whole Hugh Jackman's whole arc in this movie. Really did it for me. You did bring up the script, and I think that this movie is trying to do something that I
Hmm.
think in a lot of ways succeeding, that Endgame and Spider-Man No Way Home did, which is those movies are like Endgame's like this is the end of like the kind of this MCU as we know it so far.
Hmm.
Spider-Man is like let's look back at all these Sony Spider-Man movies, kind of like be this big love letter to that. And this movie was kind of trying to do, I think, the same thing for the era of X-Men slash Fox
Hmm.
movies, right? But I will
Impossible
say,
task.
yes, right. And I will say that the plot of this movie is pretty shaggy. Like even
Sure.
like No Way Home, I'm like compare like that's like which is a little shaggy. It still worked for me. This
Yeah.
plot, I was like, what the? Sometimes I was just like, the
Yeah.
anchor being thing pissed me the hell off. I'm not gonna lie.
I mean, you're like, okay, everything before Logan was born. Why? What? Okay, and
Right,
yeah, that makes no sense at all. But
right,
yeah, I hear you there.
yeah.
It
But
wasn't
you
as
know
bad
what?
for me
Mhm.
as No Way Home when you're like, Peter, this is the stupidest wish you're making, and we can make this a lot simpler. And why is Doctor Strange being an idiot unless he's a scroll right now? I don't know what's happening. That was like the dumbest moment in that movie for me, where I'm like, you okay, but we have to have a movie, so they're gonna
Right.
do
And
this
and
spell instead of one that makes sense.
exactly. But so sometimes these movies can get a little shaggy, you know.
Oh
This
yeah,
one for me at times just kind of like tipped over into like the plot just it really just didn't matter at some point for me. It was just
yeah.
like here's an excuse to go here, here's an excuse to go here. Um
But
but
I
I
agree
didn't
with
hate
you.
it. Yeah, yeah.
But it's about
Uh
it's about the journey. Some
yeah.
scripts or movies, films, and they actually reference this a bunch in the press that they did. It's like, I don't know if you ever saw Planes, Trains, and Automobiles,
Oh yeah,
Steve Martin and John Candy. And what's that movie about? Trying to get home for,
yeah.
on a that's the whole movie. But it's like genius to see them do their thing and to learn and to grow. So yeah, I agree with you, but also like it worked for me.
Yeah, and I think it was just one of those things where, you know, so like it just kind of hit the tipping point where the script didn't work for me, but I still, I get it,
There's some forced stuff like
yeah.
the like even though he delivered the hell out of it, like some of the Wolverine backstory
Mhm.
moments, you're just like, okay, what specifically happened? I don't know. You're getting super emotional,
Right.
but I don't really know what happened, or like it doesn't. Yeah, okay, uh, yeah, but
But as like a way to, deliver a movie that was effectively emotional and a send
mhm,
off to the era of like kind of messy Marvel, it's Fox, but there's also other stuff in there, obviously
yeah,
I don't Blade was not a Fox production, it was from New Line, but
from
most of them
Sony.
are from
Oh,
Fox.
New Line, you're right.
Yeah, yeah. Um but it was really this love letter to like when Marvel movies were just kind of
Mhm,
like whatever, like Fox was
yeah,
making them, and so you have all these incredible cameos. Of course, you have like the big ones, like that team
mhm,
that shows up in the movie. But then there's a bunch of small, like Sabretooth comes back from the original
yeah,
X-Men movie. Like that is
yeah. It
insane. The
was dope.
Pyro comes back, It's all
Yeah,
these
man.
like it's people you haven't seen or thought of, And I just remember that scene when you start to see all of the big ones, right? You start to see,
Mhm,
Elektra comes out, and the crowd, like
mhm,
this is just a normal crowd. This isn't a premiere. This is like Monday
yeah.
in San Diego, and people like start losing their minds, like, oh my gosh, it's can you believe it's Elektra? And she was great. And then Blade, and he's got the line about motherfuckers always trying to skate uphill, and then you have Gambit come out, who's not even he
Yeah.
wasn't even in a movie, but he was almost
But
Gambit, and he goes,
wasn't he? Am I crazy? Wasn't he in like Wolverine X-Men Origins like for a
no, that's
second?
Taylor Kitsch.
Oh my gosh, you're right.
Yeah. But
Oh,
they
why are
they
they
had
the
for
same in my brain? But yes,
years
yes.
for
I
years
remember.
been
Yeah,
trying to do and that's why I
yeah,
think that line he's got where he's like, I might have been born in the void, and he's doing that gambit like the '90s,
yeah.
like,
I don't
and
know.
what about to make my name for myself? Like it's become a meme. Like that's another great meme that's come
So
out of this movie.
so good, dude.
And then of course the one we were alluding to earlier, the Chris Evans, because you hear the
Yeah.
voice, you're like, oh shit, that's Chris Evans. And this is something
Oh
I kind of
yeah.
thought they might do in like Secret Wars, but I felt
Hmm.
so glad they did it here. Is like he shows up and I was like, okay, are they bringing back Captain America, or are they? Wait a minute, they wouldn't. And then they're like, and he's
You
gonna
were
say,
that calm about it?
I
I
was
was
I was
like,
like, are
what
they
the
gonna really?
what
No, I
the?
freaked out. I was like, wait a
Yeah.
minute. And then he does the flame on, and it's like, and he's Johnny
It
Storm, and
was
he's,
just
oh my
just
god.
cheers.
So people
Brilliant.
were losing their mind, and that was for me like my favorite part of the whole movie was Johnny Storm, because I love just the nasty Chris Evans. The Chris
Hmm.
Evans we get to see in like Knives Out and like Scott Pilgrim,
Or
who's just a mean
yeah, right?
motherfucker. Like
Yeah.
I loved that. I mean, like
Why is
I've
Captain
talked.
America cussing, mommy?
I mean, I've talked about all the cameos and stuff for a second. What did you think about all that stuff? All the Easter eggs and love letters.
Oh, dude, I thought that was like, I mean, like I said, they have this impossible task to
Hmm.
like blend these universes together and create a
Yeah.
new direction for Marvel, which they have kind of basically they're saying we're basing everything off of this movie because it made a crap ton of money. No, because it was really good. Um, but so I just ate up every moment of it, and like so many of the throwaway lines that like you don't even like might not catch the first time, or you have to explain to a lesser
Mhm.
nerd like that's funny because, or like the jokes like, oh my
Right.
gosh, when they introduced Electra, and they say, oh, about all the people who have died going to Cassandra Nova's, and you're like, oh, and Daredevil, and she's like, nah, it's no big deal. Sorry about that. Like, and like I just dying, like just knowing the history of that, or
Right,
um,
right.
man, it was really cool. Like I think the one that I just like cheered the loudest for was
Mm,
and one of my favorite parts of the whole movie was kind of the looking for Wolverine montage. You could see all the variants and how they
yeah,
committed to
yeah.
all these versions of Wolverine that you've only seen like in print. And then Henry Cavill shows up, and it's kind of like,
The
sorry,
Cavalrine.
sorry, DCEU, like you lost your chance to, Anyway,
Mm,
I love that guy. And yeah, I was just like, yes, please let this happen. It feels so right. It was
yeah.
it was awesome. Yeah, it was great. And I keep finding new ones. Um,
Mm,
I highly recommend seeing the movie a second time because you know what's going to happen, and you kind of want to just like wait to see what the audience is going to do. Is like, how bad are they going to freak out? Just you wait. You're going to see it. Especially the Chris Evans moment because they're
yeah.
all freaking out because this is Captain America, and when they flame on, hopefully they get it. If they don't,
Mm,
it's still awesome. But like, yeah,
right, right.
that was a perfect moment.
And then one more we didn't even mention, I think like maybe the most emotionally powerful cameo, because these are all like
This is Daphne.
cameos that
Yeah,
work for the audience, but
yeah,
not necessarily for the characters, and that is X-23 coming back,
yeah,
Daphne
yeah,
Keene. Like,
yeah.
and I'm a huge X-23. I
Hmm.
don't really like. It's interesting because I was never the biggest Wolverine guy. I loved Cyclops,
Oh, okay.
so I was always like,
Yeah.
who's this guy? Like, screw him, whatever. Like when I was a kid, but I was a really big X-Men Evolution fan. Like that was my
Mm.
like
Hmm.
I love X-Men 97, but I'm like, when are they gonna make X-Men 04, or whatever? Like
Mm.
so her having come from that, like she's like the Harley Quinn of Marvel, where she came from that animated show and like
Yeah.
to has like become this big character. I loved seeing her and like her getting to put on the dumb glasses
The,
from Logan and everything.
yeah.
So seeing her was absolutely incredible, and it really hit emotionally. And I think that
Absolutely.
it summed up, what the strength of this movie was, and it was that, yeah, it is this love letter to these bygone movies, but it's not just out of nowhere. It's not, we're just putting this in here just
No.
because it's fun. It works with the theme of like being forgotten, stuff like that, because all of these characters, even the one played by Chris Evans, are characters that have largely kind of been forgotten about, like been, recast. Like I love that line where he's like, "There's only been one, only will be ever one blade," and he kind of looks, and
Yeah.
Deadpool
You're
looks at
like,
the camera.
yeah. Oh.
Um, yeah. So did you have a favorite cameo?
um. Yeah. My favorite cameo. Uh. I think just for the sheer fun of it. Well, I don't. It's a toss up for me between Henry Cavill and Blade. Like,
Yeah.
because um, Blade was the first Marvel Jesus. Like, if you
Mm.
if you know the history of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, like
Yeah. Yeah.
they were just going under. They had sold all their rights, and like Blade brought it back, and like to see him just own it after all these years was just awesome. So,
Yeah.
and then emotionally, the stuff with Daphne Keene was some of the best stuff
Yeah.
in the
Yeah.
movie. Um, I gosh, I mean, I just have one question for you though.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Why is Thor crying? Dude, that
That
was so
that
good too. And
that
then
was
like
a
when I
great
saw that, I'm
cameo.
like,
Yeah.
and I'm not about posting spoilers ever, but I did. I'm like, we did the Barbie Avengers for Con one day, and
Oh yeah, I've seen the pictures that look so great. I was gonna say
and
beforehand.
I'm just like one of the people who was with our that joined our group uh, was was a Deadpool who found us and
Mhm.
like kind of joined up with us, and I'm like, man, let's just take a second. We're not going to say any words. We're just going to
Mhm.
do a little scene where I'm holding you and crying, and not going to say anything in any comments. Nobody, if they haven't seen it, they wouldn't know what the heck is going on. But
Right.
um, that was such a great scene. It was kind of a funny hit for anybody who'd seen it, because somebody in the background on that video was just like, "Mommy, the Thor's crying," like when she was watching us. It was
Yeah.
it was good. So I forgot to mention that one because Thor was my guy. Yeah,
Yeah.
um,
No, that was
and I
perfect.
loved it. I love that one. Yeah, I was
Yeah.
freaking out. I'm like, oh, they're going big. they're going big right now. How about you? What was your favorite?
I think it like those are all incredible ones, and like Thor is my favorite Avenger. You know, like in the comics, it was always Spider Man in the '90s shows, but like in the
Mm.
movies, it's been Thor. And so like that was cool, but like Chris Evans, like it was just hearing him, especially in
Yeah.
that post credit scene. Because I was honestly kind of like bummed
Oh
that
my
he like
gosh.
didn't make it longer,
Yep.
but that post credit scene when he's just like
Hmm.
really like nobody can like just go off like Chris Evans, where he's just like saying all this like insanely heinous stuff. And you can tell
I
that
know.
after being like the good golden boy in Marvel for so many years, he was having a ball. Like even when he was Human Torch and he got to be a little, more
Yeah.
crass, he's still in a PG-13 movie. And now he's just like he's just like saying all this horrible stuff about Cassandra Nova, and it was oh my god, I was
So
dying.
good.
But speaking of Cassandra Nova,
Yeah.
that was the one, obviously we're talking about a lot of people coming back, and
Hmm.
it's all this great, it's stuff that is paying tribute to, because we wouldn't have an MCU
Hmm.
without these movies. Like it just would not exist, and it was great that that
Yeah.
existed. But the one really big addition in this movie, I thought, was Cassandra Nova, played by
Yeah.
Emma Corrin. Emma Corrin is
Yeah.
so good. They're
Ooh.
like
Oh,
frightening, but like you're like sorry for them, but also like you're like also like creeped out and like
oh, yeah.
interested, and like at least for me, like I'm like weirdly attracted to her, and it's like
Dude, it's
so
like, yeah, it's weird. It's like, you're just weird bald head, but like really pretty and like just you do terrible things, but also like I'm kind of rooting for you. It was like,
yeah,
yeah, I get it. She did an amazing job.
yeah, yeah. And just that scene where they're about to kill Cassandra Nova. They're like, if you don't stop, you'll die. Why are you like this? And they're like, I wish I knew.
I
Like
wish I knew.
they just say
And
it with
she
like
just
such
laughs. Yeah,
insanity. Oh my gosh,
yeah.
it's so perfect, and so really great villain, and really
Hmm.
great like ending to the movie, that when they, because it's kind of like once again convoluted, where you know Cassandra Nova lets them jump back, but then they come through the portal and they're like, I'm going to
Hmm.
destroy all reality. But that's like a good villain, and instead of being like something where it's like, all right, well, we gotta, you go hide and go, I'll stab them. Like they like Wolverine and Deadpool both want to sacrifice themselves. So it's not a fight. I love that it
Yeah,
doesn't end with a fight. It ends with like this moment where they're like trying to, each self-sacrifice, and but by the fact that both of them are trying to self-sacrifice, neither of them has to. And Wolverine has
yeah,
that moment where he's about to like ride off and be, the guy at the end of the Searchers, or
yeah, yeah.
maybe more appropriately Shane, which Logan was so heavily influenced by, all those old westerns where the hero dies or rides off or
Yeah.
whatever. And he's like, no, 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 no. Deadpool's like, no, come in. You don't have to
Hmm.
be the loner. Come and be part of the family. I thought that was such a good
That
ending
was
and an
awesome.
inversion of that like kind of classic Western trope. Like, what did you think of the whole
Yeah.
ending?
Um, well, that scene more than the classic Western trope just like took me immediately back to Infinity War and like
Mm,
Hawkeye and Black Widow. Like, and they both want
yeah,
to sacrifice. They both want to be the one. They both have the red in their ledger, and they just like have done terrible things in their life, and they want to go out nobly. And you just that fight to save the other person, and eh, I was watching this and just going like, wow, they do that really well, and it's very, very powerful. And um, yeah, they did it really well when they brought Wolverine back home to the
hmm,
gang without it feeling cheesy, without it being like out of character for him.
hmm,
Um, and it's kind of a relief and a joy to see like a little bit of happiness for
yeah,
both those characters, but especially for Wolverine. Um, I dug it.
yeah. Because I think
One
that's
thing I want to
honestly.
say, oh,
Oh yeah, yeah. Go ahead, go ahead.
no, you were literally just talking and a thought popped into my head. Please edit this if I'm just wrong and an idiot. But one of the things like plot hole wise, I don't want to get off too far, but she whips out the sling ring, right? They killed a
Mhm.
Doctor Strange, whatever, got that. Opens a portal, they jump through it. I'm like, I didn't know that could go through dimensions or timelines. Isn't that the whole point of uh the last Doctor Strange movie is that
Right.
America like, can jump through
No, yeah,
different
because
timeline, different universes. I'm like, that kind of ruins that whole, importance of that. Anyway, maybe I'm stupid. Is that correct?
no,
Am I
I
right
think
in
that's
thinking that?
correct. I that is because that was like you said, that was a whole big, and I think Damien, who
Like,
was out with, like
she's
asked
the
me
only
this same
one
question, and
who
I
can
was
go
just like,
through, yeah,
and I was like, you
timelines
know
or.
what? Like my like, and it's another thing of just like the plot of this movie is just kind of like nonsense. It doesn't make sense. And I was like, if I want to justify it, I'll just say this variant
Yeah.
of Doctor Strange from another dimension had a sling ring that could do
Oh,
that.
he did take the power from her in that universe. There we go. We're gonna say
There
that.
we go. Yep, yep.
He didn't,
Um,
yeah, didn't sacrifice himself. Okay, got it. You
yeah.
just solved everything for me. Thank you.
But yeah, so the thing I think about at the end of the day with this movie is it was another panel that I saw in Hall H, which was the only one I caught the day before that, which was the Alien Romulus panel, and Fede
Hmm.
Alvarez, who I'm a big fan of, he's talking about how there's a lot of things in that movie that are references to the original Alien movie and Aliens,
Hmm.
and he talked a lot even about like Alien 3 and like how much he loves these movies and wanted to pay respect and homage to them. But he's like, at the end of the day, those things, they're like the quote unquote member berries, they're important, right? But they can't be the meal. And I don't think that
Hmm.
they were the meal in this, right? They're there on the side, they're
Hmm.
there, and they work really well with what you got. They make enhance the meal, but they can't be the meat. You got to have the meat of it. And I think that the relationship between Deadpool and Wolverine and getting to see, him go off and both of them not have to sacrifice them, go off and get to have a happily ever after, unlike, the other version of Wolverine, unlike Iron Man,
Oh
unlike,
yeah.
all these people. And that's why I'm glad Captain America got to, have that happy ending. I do
Heck
like
yeah.
where we leave these characters.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Amen. I
yeah,
agree. I like happy sometimes. I love
yeah,
tragic and beautiful, but like this one was
yeah.
great.
Yeah. Well, any
Did it.
final thoughts on Deadpool Wolverine, Deadpool and Wolverine, or anything else before we wrap up here?
Nah, we could talk about it forever. It's so great, and I keep finding out new cameos. I'm like, that was Nathan Fillion as Deadpool, and like, uh,
Right.
gosh. Oh, and I didn't realize, when they made that joke about, oh, this is the flavor of the week Juggernaut or whatever, the new
Mm.
Juggernaut, and I didn't realize that was the guy from Free Guy. That was Ryan Reynolds, like the buff version of him. I don't know if
I
you knew
didn't
that.
know that. Wow,
It's
I
the
didn't
same
know
actor.
that.
So I'm like, that's brilliant. Just bring your friends, have them come and do it. Like,
Yeah.
like, and Chris Evans had that cameo. So that was really cool. So I think we could talk about it forever. You
Yeah.
mentioned Alien Romulus, and like, they had a preview for that at Deadpool and Wolverine that I saw on Sunday.
Mm.
And I hate knowing too much about a movie
Yeah.
beforehand.
Same.
I just
Same.
want to say, whoever made that preview failed. It looks badass, but like, holy crap, they show you everything and who's going to die, and you're just like, oh, why? Okay, great.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
stop doing that. Stop doing that with your previews, people. It's like more and more. It's like, just
Thank you.
get smart about it. Tease,
That's what I've been
tease
always
it.
saying. Like I don't watch previews online. If I'm in the theater, whatever, and it comes on,
Oh
sure I'll
yeah.
watch it. But like I am I completely agree. Like, and that's one thing that I think I wish they wouldn't have shown that X-23 was in the movie because when they announced
Yeah.
they like all the people were coming out and you're like, here's Wesley Snipes, here's Jennifer and like
I
everybody
steer clear of
cheered.
everything.
Yeah, and I got it spoiled for me on like Instagram like a few days
Oh man.
beforehand. And I was so
Tough.
mad. And
Yeah.
but like when she came out, like there was some cheers and stuff, but it wasn't like a raucous applause because people knew,
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
please, yes, that's a good point.
Don't
Like
spoil the
please,
movie like
please
us
don't
right now.
spoil the movie. So yeah, I don't know, but thank you, man, once again for
Yeah,
coming
bud.
on. This was a blast.
Of course.
Yeah. Anything you want to let like the people know about before you go?
No, I'm just excited to see what comes next with the MCU. I swear I just saw just like a preview on YouTube of like the new next phase of Marvel, and I'm like, holy crap,
Uh,
this is completely different from what we were doing before. And I hope it's awesome. It
yeah.
just looks. I'm like, oh, really? Oh, okay. How do I get in one of these movies? Okay, I'm gonna put that out there.
There you go. Yeah, you could be a Thor variant for sure. Like absolutely.
Why the heck not?
You know. Yeah, that'd be great. But yeah, this is a lot of fun. I had a blast,
Hey, man.
came to the
Yeah,
right
brother.
person clearly to talk about this with this. So yeah, this is obviously anybody who's listening who doesn't know, this is a podcast that I do whenever there's a new MCU property, whether it be a TV show or a movie. So this year's been a little sparse. Obviously, this is the only one, so I had to make it a big one. But yeah, I also do another podcast called Underrated. That one is more
Heck yeah.
consistent. Yeah, that's a lot of fun.
So
That
good,
comes
man.
out.
It is.
Thank you. That comes out every other Monday, and I talk about underrated movies, as the name would imply. The next one coming out is on Popstar, Never Stop Stopping, which is if you're not familiar with it, it's a
Stump me on that one.
2015, and it's a Andy Samberg music biopic.
Oh
Or
my
not music,
gosh,
but it's like a fake music. It's like a mockumentary with like the Lonely Island in it, and just it's kind of like the Beastie Boys meets like Justin Timberlake. It's really good. Like it's incredible. It's one of the funniest movies you will watch, and it's kind of got missed by everybody. So I had a lot of fun talking about that with my buddy JMO from the Old Switcheroo podcast. So definitely check that out. Got a lot of good stuff coming up. The panel that we talked about, my panel at Comic-Con, is also up on that feed, or you can find it on YouTube. Just look up Underrated Movie Podcast anywhere, on Instagram, all the places. Got a Patreon where there are actually bonus episodes of this podcast whenever there's something that's Marvel adjacent, like X-Men 97 or Madam Web. I will do a bonus episode.
Oh, sorry.
And I had a lot of fun talking about that one. And put it up on the Patreon. So for as little as $1 a month, you can get those episodes. Just go to patreon.com/underratedmoviepodcast. But yeah, thank you one more time.
Yeah, man, thank you. And I'll nerd talk with you anytime you want. And oh my gosh, your Underrated podcast. Every time a new title comes out, it's just like, oh, I love that one. Good stuff.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure, my brother. Yeah.
I appreciate it. And I'll see you guys all next time.